Okay, so Laura, you may introduce yourself to be heard in the recording as well, please.
Thank you, Yasmi. Thank you to all of you. It's really a big pleasure to be here and to have so many participants to this webinar. And I am Laura Caruso with my colleagues Ilaria Margutti and Alice Sulfanelli. We are the staff of Caserma Archeologica. We are an organization in Italy, in San Sepolcro, in Tuscany. Is the place where Piero della Francesca, the artist from Renaissance, was born. Caserma Archeologica is started 10 years ago from a teacher that is also an artist, Ilaria Margutti, who involved her students in reusing an ancient place, abandoned, to organize exhibition, workshop, meeting. So now, after many years, 10 years, we are here, we are open every day. We are a public space where people, especially students and young people, can have artistic activities with artists and with the communities. So now we are very happy to have one of the artists that we met in this time is Claudia Losi. She is an Italian artist with an important career in Italy and in different international institutions about culture and art. She has been selected in important program from for artists and program for artists all around the world. Then we will share the link to her website where you can find her biography and her works. Claudia Losi works with sculpture, installation, performance, using different materials. Her approach comes from a deep and active listening to nature and to local communities. So she works usually involving different people in her artistic process. Her works are always inspiring and poetical. So we will have a talk with her, and Yasmi Stati will give to us the scientific point of view to her works. So then in the second time of our workshop, we will have an experience starting from Animule, that is one of the last work from Claudia Losi, and we want to propose to you to use all the ideas you have during the workshop to try to imagine new experience for your students. So we hope that the project Life on Mars can be useful to create new models to bring scientific topic through the art. So there are many possibilities. So all of you can have new ideas starting from the inspiration and the suggestion that we are giving through the workshop and also through the moment live that we had, one in San Sepolcro last February and one in next September in Creta. So I'm very happy and quite moved. So thanks to you. Buon pomeriggio. Good afternoon and kalispera. I studied small Greek, the
Good.
ancient Greek, so I can use I think, one of the words that I remember from my studies. So thank you very much to be here, and we are very, very happy of the project.
Well, thanks for your welcoming, and I'm very happy to be here with you because it's a nice occasion to talk about my my work, where the scientific approach is quite important since the beginning, a few years ago, but of course it's nice to share it with people who have to teach with to others this kind of this world, this attitude to see the world, and try to see if there are connection between practice, this is mine, and the possibility to transfer information, specific information of the natural world to, for example, young students. It's an approach I particularly love. So I will share with you a PDF. And in particular, I start with a work I did many years ago in 2003. I've been always obsessed by textiles and using textiles. I often use my hands, and I strongly think that our brain is share is movement with our hands, so we can think with our hands, thinking hands. And so probably for me, the approach to the materials, to things, and to transform things in something different from the original shape is quite important. And textile has been physically and metaphorically quite strong beginning for me. And in the specific work that is strongly connected to the subject suggested by this invitation, is acts of love. And I try to collect images of animals and humans making love, or acts of care. And I did for this is a pangolin. I don't know the word in another. And I have not a lot of pictures because of course it's years ago, so I have few. But the installation was composed by many of the sculptures, soft sculptures. Dragonflies, fishes, frogs, mante, wolves, snakes, that are hanged to the up with the elastic thread. And so when you move between them, you can walk, and of course, and try to move them, and they do this movement, so that it's a sort of a live forest of animals that I really love the ideas that we can talk about what is love and what is an act of love in nature, what we perceive as an act of love, or is a sort of desire of transmitting life, or to have pleasure, or to give to help the other. So sort of there's a feeling that many species share, I think, to help the others, because if you help the others, you will be helped after that. So it's a sort of it's a form of selfish but very important attitude of alive beings. Sorry, I always talk about it in an artistic way, I know, but is my part of the talk. And this idea in particular, when I started all my work, I had strong it has been very important meeting people who were particularly interested in sciences. So to talk about this approach, their approach. And I try to develop it in reading a lot about literature. So my background, there are many layers that are all together, and sometimes some of them are not, they have a different balance. So this philosophical and humanistic approach, and the scientific approach, and the more artistic approach in the sense of visual arts. So I really like this idea that the artist is asked not to be a mono thought, but to be open and to keep in his bag, to say, all the instruments that can be useful to say what the artists want to say. And I guess it's something very common in nature to use what we have around us and try to connect in different ways to survive in the best way. And I'm sure that Elina can tell about it more precisely than me. And in particular, this idea of, first we talked with Elina about symbiosis, for example. That is a subject that you will perhaps see in the next works I will show you. But in particular, in this idea that there are different kinds of symbiosis, and I'm very interested in this mutualistic symbiosis, where the two alive beings try to help each other, because they will survive if they collaborate. Collaboration is a very important point in life, in life on this planet, even if it seems that we are forgetting it quite quickly, but it's more and more important. And the next work I will show you is a work that has a connection with this idea of collaboration that can be perceived under different points. And this is my biggest work and a long-term work. This is Balena project. I started in 2004, but the ideas came from the very beginning of the 2000s. When I have been obsessed for a while this idea to create a huge mammal, a whale, using textiles, and try to work with this strange sculpture, traveling with it and all over the world, and each time creating situation that can be inspired by this strange presence. Why a whale? Because I was when I have this idea, it was personally a specific moment of my life where I had to go through a very heavy psychological moment, as I guess that we all had in life. And I had a really a dream, a sort of dream. Sometimes dreams helps to see a huge animal inside a small house, and so huge that his shape, his body was pushing the walls of this apartment, and you could see the meat, but just out of the window has something that can have to be bigger than the size of the reality is living in. And obviously it was a very metaphorical dream, but it helped me a lot because it has been a sort of drill in my brain. And I said, okay, what is the biggest animal near to humans that I can imagine? Of course, a whale. And I'm not living near the sea, so I live in the plain, and one of the worst and most polluted place in Europe, Pianura Padana. So there is water near where I live, but is contaminated probably. And so my idea of the sea, it was something, of course, on my holidays, but it was a sort of very ancestral presence, memory, because I lived near near the mountain, in the plain, in the Apennines, and where they found when I was before I was a child, and many shells and
fossils, marine fossils.
Fossils,
maybe.
thanks. That was the word. And the fossils near the place where I was living. So and they found in 19th century, at the beginning of the 19th century, whales bones, very well preserved. So this idea walking under on a surface that one time was the bottom of an ancient sea was quite strong in my childhood memory, and this memory just stayed there for a while, and then have to flourish when it was the right moment. And so I said, okay, probably it's interesting to work on this idea of a whale, and but not a whale that is not a fossil whale, not a dead whale, but traveling whale on Earth. And the inspiration was connected. Okay, you see, I put some pictures. Was connected to another quite interesting image of a whale that during the 50s and the 60s and the beginning of the 70s traveled all over Europe in a huge truck, as you see. Its name was Goliath, and I never see it personally, but friends of my age approximately remembered it arriving in the middle of the square in the town as a sort of circus. And this whale, preserved whale of 22 meters, probably a fin whale, was a sort of attraction for this circus. And it traveled all over Europe in different countries. I'm not sure in Greece, but I'm sure in Germany and France, or in the under the Iron Curtain, Bulgaria, Hungary, during the 60s. So you can imagine which kind of histories it could collect this animal. And incredibly, by chance, I find out that there was still alive a director of this circus. He's a Swiss man. Now he's in his 80s, and an incredible person with incredible stories behind him. But he traveled all over those countries with this truck, and each time he opened this truck and you could enter and see this monster, because it was very smelly one. It was completely I mean, it's very difficult to preserve correctly these animals because you had put formaldehyde inside a lot. It's very cancerous, so it's very death animal. I don't know. It's not just a dead whale, but is a metaphor that is very touching, very sad. But I really like the idea of traveling with a work of mine and keep this work alive through the many stories that I could connect around this project. So I started because some friend of mine decided to help me, crazy people, I can say now, and they gave me textiles, hundreds of meters of very posh woolen textile to produce it, and the place where to do it, and the people who could help me to do it. And because I didn't have any money at the beginning for this project, this was such a crazy idea. Even my parents were a little bit worried about this enterprise, because it was, what is the aim? That's a point that I want to stress. Some can be an interesting subject for a biologist too. What is the aim of this kind of very big efforts that work in imagination, but have no how to say
Profit
results, but is a sort of can help in different ways, of course, but is not immediately clear to people, and probably to me too. I wasn't sure what was what will happen next. Each step of this project happened like a miracle for me, and with the incredible gift of people that decide to participate to this dream, to this sort of huge narrative that have no aim, but start from this idea that there are very strong images in our amygdala, in our brain, that they are still there, they are still rich, and sometimes they need to come to the surface, and you never know how it happens. In this case, I try to give it a shape of the biggest mammals we know, the biggest and the most fantastic for our imagination as human animal. And so after many incredible stories, I arrived to present for the first time this whale. That is not this sculpture, I can say. There is an inflatable balloon inside and soft material around, and this skin, that is the woolen cloth I told you about. And the idea was to travel with this in different situations. In this case was in Lerici in Liguria, in a square, and it was very funny because at the beginning I didn't expect that people just try to run on it and go on up on it, but at the end we decided to put this white cord around, because it was very dangerous, and children and parents just try to go and grimp on it and go on the to go up the whale, and it was very dangerous. Why I'm saying this? Because it started as a sort of attractors, and I didn't expect it at the beginning. It was an attractor for people and for different kind of situations. So I involved many teachers, and we talk with children. Many children have been involved by drawing or manipulating clay, and you see after this I will show you some pictures, but not just children, but adults that can be involved telling their stories about whales, because they lived near the sea, and in this part of the Mediterranean Sea, where there is a Santuario dei Cetacei, where many whales go and have give birth to littles between Corsica and Liguria and Tuscany, South France. And so we started with this presentation as engine that can move people and let people thinking about many kind of things, not just the scientific, not just for a scientific approach, but even for an approach more poetical. So we involved a group of theater that put on stage a show about whales, musicians. So each time it has been a sort of, as I said, an engine to create new situation where people can be involved in different layers, not I didn't want to give to this project a specific point of observation. I mean, it's not just the preservation of the whales in our seas, but can be how whales navigate in our memory, in the sense of the books we read. Moby Dick, for example, is the first thing that came in mind. But in different cultures, because you can read about whales in any countries, I think, in the world, even in areas that are not suspected with fossils, but but even near the sea, and where normally you don't think to find them, but you find how to say, the stories connected to those animals. And it's interesting how specifically mammals, big mammals, elephants and whales, worked in our mythologies in very different ways. Turtles too, but specifically whales and elephant, I discovered they really haunted our deep dreams. You see here another step of the travel of the whale. I went to Ecuador, where I worked with women there, and I knitted little whales, and I had to explain what whales were. So at the end, we had a lot of nice situations together, where I tried to find the right way to explain what I had in mind, and to give them little information about something that they never see. They never see the sea in particular. And so it has been very interesting to explain them, for example, how big was a whale, because they asked me, I remember the first time, in Quechua. I was in Ecuador in this little village where I worked on the Andi. And the answer I gave them was the first I had in mind, kept in mind. Just imagine 2 or 3 buses, one behind the other, and you imagine a fish, as you know, in the lakes where you normally go, of this size. So sometimes with this work of mine, you come through situation that you never expected. It's very interesting, because if you keep your mind open, you will find incredible situation where you have to give the quick response and quick answer to situation. And the way it came back, I had to restore it. This is the inflatable balloon on the back, the white roll you see. That you can inflate with normal. You could inflate with normal air. And then in 2010, I decided to stop the travels, and I gave the funeral to this whale, and I transformed the body of the whale in something else. This idea that a body, an animal, but as any ideas of us humans can be transformed in something else, and so I can say it was a very particular moment too for me. It's a specific moment because my mom was dying, and it was strange because I didn't connect it to things until it happened. But I prepared those funerals in the very same moment of my mother's death. And metaphorically, I think that something worked on me because I had to go through this loss through a new life. How we can say goodbye to a shape and to say hello to another shape. I don't know. For me, it worked somehow. It helped me, and with a lot of energy, and involved many people for a 24-hour performance where we transformed the whale something else. I did jackets from the skin of the whale, and from the internal part, I produce little whales that you will see after. That it was the jacket that I decided after the death of the whale to transform in leather jackets, and I sent them to different people in 28 jackets that I produced, and they traveled all over the world. And I asked the people involved to give me back the jackets as leather jacket. I mean to add information of different kind using pocket, the inside part, or do what they want to this jacket and give me back the jacket as a sort of exchange. And adding a new story to the original jacket. And I received incredible things. People, very different kind of people. There were just few artists. Lucy Horta, that is this one with the, I don't know if you see the indication. No, but the third one, and it is a quite known artist. But the others are people of different kind, scientists, fashion designer, a lawyer, a man who,
priest,
a priest, who gave
shepherd.
Shepherd.
So is a shepherd, and that gave so. At the end, each jacket was different, and each jacket was a story. This idea of story is quite important, that you will see at the end of the project. But I would like to stress a part of this huge and long-term project, talking about a part of Balena project, that is when I involved a lot of young people, with the teachers or the educational or educational team of the museums where I worked. We organized different kind of workshop with children. One of those was quite interesting for me, because we produce with clay thousands and thousands and thousands of little whales of some of them incredible. But at the end, I couldn't say, okay, just throw it away at the end of the workshop. I really like the idea that they have a second story. a new narrative. So I brought them in two different situations, two different rivers, and I put them there and left them completely disappear under the water. And I organized with some of the teachers a sort of how to say, the possibility to have pictures of the ways in this transformation. So they went and kept pictures of the whales and let them see to the children. So the children could see what happened to their whales, to their manufacture, the objects. And it was very interesting to, in this way, to let them know how what happened to these molecules of clay, just dissolving in water and then going to the main river and then to the sea, and then to all the movement that what they started manipulating, and they manipulated to say, no, the result of this transformation. And it was very interesting to see the reactions of children, the teacher told me, because they were very interested in this idea that we can produce things and then see how they disappeared, but is not a loss, is a transformation, is a part of process. This is another picture of a workshop where in Milan, in a very beautiful place, where I produced a video of lines that produce images or connected to the whale project, a sort of cartoon. And in the meantime, I produced a sort of, as you see in one of the pictures, a sort of mountain in fresh clay. And young children just can keep a piece of this fresh clay and manipulated it and produce the whales. And there was a sort of process of transformation, because then the whales went to this river too. So the idea was this: taking the clay from the mountain, this iconic mountain, and then to be transformed, and then to see what happened to them. It was very, very interesting. All those stories, 20 years stories, I can say, at a final moment that has been absolutely fundamental to me. And it was a book. It's not just a book about my work, about whale project, but it was, as I wrote, the whale theory. There is an English version too, if you are interested in. But in this book, I collected many stories about whales from scientists, writers, musicians, poets. Of course, there is the story of the whale, but it's a sort of archipelago of islands of different kind that this project, the whale project, connect one to the other. And the result is very funny because still now, after years, I receive pictures of young children using, as can I say, the little whales I produce with the filling of the whales, the filler, sorry, the filler of the whale, that was a very soft material. And I produced many, many little whales and very simple shape, as simple as you can imagine. But the nice thing is that many of them have been sent to children, and they still use them. and they receive pictures of children sleeping on them, playing with them, giving them food. And I decided to show them to you because you never know what happened to your work when you start. I didn't expect this kind of result after so many years. I'm still okay. I'm simply. Another work that is connected to this idea of combination of shapes and a sort of creating shapes, combining different shapes is quite clear in this project. Is a discourse of dialogue about proximity, could be. This idea of proximity of shapes, proximity of functions. And I produce, it's a project that started in 2016, and I finished in 2022. And it's a series of animals inspired by the bestiary from Western and Eastern area, produced when I've been invited in China for a participation to a triennial in Hangzhou. And I produced those very strange animals. In this case, there is this strange fish bird combination between two shapes. And but I put together with even fossils animals, that alive fossils as animal, as normally they are told. I don't remember the name of this sort of lizard. It's not lizard, I'm sorry, I forget the name, but it's a big one. And is this kind of animals that in their evolution, they have to say they didn't need to change a lot. So they are very similar to the very first ancestors. I hope to explain correctly what I'm saying. And so I put together the different kind of shapes, and I played with them, creating a sort of my own personal bestiary. Some years before, I started with something similar, but I produced this combination of shapes using textiles, but then transformed them with cement, so very hard stuff. That I decided to produce because I was very interested to keep those shapes out in the outdoor and see what happened on it. So after some times, lichens and mosses and algae, different kind of algae, start growing on them and transform the cement. And as it happens when you produce sculptures in this kind of material. But it was very interesting to me to imagine these objects changing during the time, as you can understand. This idea of process and changing is quite is absolutely important in my practice. Basta. So I just I keep the other images for the end of our conversation. So I think we are perfect in time for our...
And before I start from when you finish with the word change, I would like to ask you if you have any questions to Claudia or something to discuss. Would you like to stop sharing, Claudia?
Oh. Sorry. Thanks.
So it is very astonishing to your work, at least for my personal view, is the never-ending cycle of materials, of life. What you said that something is dead not exactly dead, but it is transforming in its molecules. So it's, yes, the cycle of life, the transformation, the continuous evolution and movement and transformation. And as a Greek philosopher had said, Heraclitus, ta πάντα ρει, everything is moving. So yes, I have in chat here, can you please make a resume of those who came late in class? Okay, I will put here Claudia's web page, and what she has just shown to us is all there. The whole, from what I understood, and Claudia, interfere if you want, is that don't underestimate your dreams, first of all, because even the craziest dreams without any obvious outcome or profit or...
It's the first things I say.
Yes, it's the first thing.
No, never think that you are so crazy. That, I mean,
by starting something.
Yeah, we need to be crazy a little, because if not, we don't wake up in the morning.
Yes, first of all, then to be open-minded and open-hearted and open to new ideas, collect the puzzles from whatever you feel and listen and experience around, and then sometime it will come and they form up in something. In your case, in an artistic thing. In a teacher's, it could be an exquisite lesson or whatever. And then this transformation process that we start from scratch, we build something, this something deteriorates, it is split in the particles, and then these particles somewhere else, in another environment, in another time space, can mix again and produce something different. So I also support fully this idea. That's why I like the evolution and transformation and biology in the end, because we always talk about and believe, all the biologists believe in this process. And if you have not any question, let's check the chat for a while. Would you like to comment or ask something? If not, I will start my scientific part, which is not so sensitive, to be honest, like Claudia's, but okay, science is a different approach of world. And yes, you see my screen again. So we saw Claudia Lossi this. I will share the PDF again to everybody who is going to fill in the form in the end. So you are going to have all the links in the PowerPoint. And also the whole webinar will be, it is recorded and will be online at the YouTube channel of our museum, of the Natural History Museum of Crete. So for the escaping this sensitive artistic thing, I will try to introduce you to the art of nature a little bit. And to have a change, and a transformation, we need forms, and we need shapes, and we need diversity. And if you consider the environments around our globe, around our planet, you can imagine how many different ecosystems they are, so how many different organisms could exploit these ecosystems. And this is what I'm going to introduce you in, about the concept of adaptation, about how plants and animals can survive in the natural environment. And since it is very popular lately, I'm going to do some projections to the climate change and how we could adapt or not adapt. And in the end, as Claudia said, what is after all life is evolution. And if the circumstances change, you have to move, or you have to adapt, or you have to die. I will change this, or I will put in brackets that die is not the correct word here. It's transform in other molecules and in other forms. So, summarizing, we will see that animals and plants develop characteristics morphologically and behaviors that help them live better in specific environments and leave offspring. Leave offspring means give birth and have next generations. We will I will divide the adaptations in three different types, let's say. The physical ones, the behavioral, and the physiological. The physical adaptations concern structures, morphological structures on the body of the organisms that help them survive. These structures could be thorns or horns or the body cover. When we say body cover is, let's say, the fur for mammals or the feathers for birds or the scales for reptiles and fish, etc. You have noticed some animals having long and wide ears for temperature reasons. You may have noticed that all creatures around there have different coloration, and some they can camouflage themselves. We have several shapes of beaks, of feet, of mouths, of bodies, etc. Some animals have hypersenses. For example, a shark or a bat or the dolphin. All these animals have senses that we humans don't have at all. These structures are physical adaptations. The behavior adaptations is when we do something or we behave somehow to adapt to our environment, to exploit our environment better. Such behaviors are the migration of birds, for example, or of the big mammals in the oceans, the hibernation and estivation. Hibernation is when some mammals sleep during the winter to avoid the cold and the lack of food. And estivation is some animals that sleep, let's say, during summer to avoid to get dry, like the snails. Or another behavior is to be active during the day or during the night. Think about the eagles and about the owls. They both live in the same place, they both eat the same food, so if they were active at the same time, they would fight. This is competition. So they have evolved to exploit eagles in the day and owls in the night. So everybody's pleased. Last but not least, some physiological adaptations is some body secretions. For example, I read something very interesting. I would like to share it with you. When the giraffes, Camelopardalis, in savannas eat the acacia trees, τρώνε τις ακακίες. The trees produce some chemicals, and these chemicals go down to the roots and communicate with the other trees to tell them, let's say, that, okay, we have giraffes around, so be prepared. So yes, there is a communication thing there, even in plants. And poison and venom, in Greek, we have one word for that, and this is δηλητήριο. But in English, it is different. Poison is when you have the toxin all over your body, and if you eat this plant or, let's say, amphibian or an animal or whatever, then it is dangerous. And the venom is produced in specific glands, and it is injected. So snake, a scorpion, a spider, a wasp, a bee are venomous animals. Okay, and poisonous are some plants. Γιατί ρε παιδιά? Do you listen to us?
Yes.
Okay, because yeah, there was some problem. Sorry for that. Technical problems. Okay. So let's see some examples. Let's say the beaks of the birds that help them catch their food. You see here the beak, this bird eats meat, obviously. Or this bird eats fish, and its beak is like this tool here. Or the beak of the parrots who eat this hard seeds, let's say, hard fruits, so they have to break them with something like a nut crusher. It's the similar tool for us. The hummingbird, in Greece we don't have hummingbirds, but in other places there are. Hummingbirds have this needle-like beak with a very, very long tongue, and they can enter the flowers and suck the nectar from inside, like a syringe. So these were adaptations for receiving food. There are some adaptations for moving around, and this is one adaptation is the flight, how birds can fly. A very, very interesting adaptation is that the bones, as you see here, the skeletons of the birds are with air inside. They are not solid. So it makes them lighter, and it is easier for them to fly. Some mammals have very long and strong legs, so they can help them run fast. The shape of the fish, for example, it's very it's very helpful for gliding in the water, for swimming inside the water. If you see the ducks or other water birds, for example, they have this leg like a paddle here, so they can swim much easier in the water. As for temperature, how to control temperature, I've said a behavioral adaptation about migration of birds. You see some species here go around from south to north and vice versa, flying around the globe. So it is a very, very big πλεονέκτημα. Advantage, thank you. Advantage to be able to fly all these distances and go away from the rush environment. Other animals like the bears hibernate in the winter time, and the snails estivate in the summertime. In the deserts, during the day, the temperature is very high. I don't know if you have experience of deserts, but it can reach to 45 degrees during the day. and during the night it can fall to -20 in some cases. So the animals don't live actually on the surface of the earth, but in burrows, in crevices, underneath the earth. And they come up at night or at dusk. Another very interesting adaptation that we have, especially in the Mediterranean climates, like Crete and South Italy, we have these herbs, the shrubs, aromatica phyta, we call it in Greek, herbs, like thyme, salvia, sage, or satureia, thymari, thrimba, phascomilo, all this that we make tea or herbs for medicines, etc. These plants are specifically adapted to the South Mediterranean areas. And the South Mediterranean, as you know, is a place where we have warm and dry summers, and at the same time we have mild and somehow wet winters. Lately it will change that. To exploit these differences in this environment, these plants have two types of leaves. They have different leaves on wintertime and different leaves on summertime. The summertime leaves are full of essential oils because these essential oils prevent them from losing the water that they have inside. So for us, when we collect these herbs, the best period is the dry period, when it is full of essential oils. Other adaptations to avoid enemies. Of course, thorns. Thorns we have in plants and we have in animals. Think about the hedgehog. When it is threatened, that rolls around and only thorns. It's a ball of thorns. Or the shell of the turtles and the snails. Or the horns of some mammals that enables them to win when they fight for competition of food, of mate, or of the habitat around. The coloration. You see here that the white color of the Arctic mammals, of course, they made them invisible. The venom that I told you, the venom of snake scorpions, helps them to be effective in hunting. What they hunt, they can eat it immediately. They don't afford losing prey. And some plants, they have some either bad taste or poison inside or the bad scent. By the way, all these plants here in the picture are very, very poisonous. And this one down left is the most poisonous plant on Earth. And it is planted in gardens. Anyway, it's good to know. So, this was a little scientific introduction, a very generalized thing. Now, you saw that Claudia showed us some animals with different structures and different shapes. And I will show you some other more by her that inspired me actually today. But before that, I would like you to create an imaginary animal or plant in its natural environment. This will be your project. And for now, I will put in chat the links and the QR code for people to see. And then you will see, you will have to observe an imaginary animal. This is one of the Claudia's works. And you have to guess some of its environmental preferences. So in the chat, I will put now the I have to stop sharing for a while. Okay, and please. You enter here. The code number is this. And I will upload also the QR code in case it helps you more, which is here. And what your answers will be shown here. Let's see some activity. Good. You have to imagine how it should be, or what you think. It's not a correct or a wrong answer here. It's just a play, just to make you think of the structure and the function. Because in evolution, this is how it works. We have the structure, we have the environmental pressure, and then we have to reply to this pressure with the tools that we already have in our body. And this happens to all creatures on Earth. And by taking this advantage, another information may be irrelevant or relevant. On planet Earth, until now, we have 5 massive extinction periods, which means that planet Earth will still be alive, but the living creatures on it will be different. So if, of course, we cannot avoid climate change as it is now, but our fear is that we as humans will face a little problem. And we will face a little problem because we don't have the time to adapt ourselves as a species. But generally, the planet will still go on, maybe with other creatures on it, cockroaches and other creatures. Maybe we disappear, but others will take our place. So this is how it works. And from this webinar, if you keep this in mind, transformation, change, adaptation, it's okay. So you see some results here, and I will share the final image with you in the presentation. So while you keep doing it, I forgot that I can share my screen and not, okay. I will have another task for you. A homework. So the homework will be, I will give you 3 tasks and you will follow the guidelines. And when you finish these tasks, you could send your answers and images and what you will create to this address here. Task 1. This is what I was inspired by Claudia's work about animals. These are some animals. I have put the links here to search yourself. So you will choose one of these animals of the next 2 pages, and you have to describe where it could live and what its environmental preferences could be. So you will observe the structure, the shape, whatever, and try to imagine where it could live and in what conditions. The second task for home is to create your own imaginary animal or plant. And for this, you can use any craft material you like or any digital approach you like. But you have to design and create a creature with some characteristics. And these characteristics will be able to help this creature survive in some environments. So your task will be to describe where it lives and what its environmental preferences are. And the last is to create this imaginary animal or plant, but on this time, try to make a creature that could survive in specific conditions. You can create something with different structures, or you can imagine that it has several behaviors or physiologies, but we need something to show that this creature can survive in high temperatures. Temperature of the globe is coming up. Can survive when the ice caps are melting, can survive sudden floods, can survive or escape the wildfires in the forests. They can survive with the introduction or with the change of the environment. Actually, many microorganisms appear that we didn't know them before, like coronavirus or other viruses. So this animal or plant should be not infected by new viruses to have a good immune system. Or you can choose other conditions, fantastic ones. Animals that could live in Saturn, for example, or in another planet or whatever. So you're free, use your imagination and make your creations, and we would be very, very interested to see the results. If you would like to share them with us, send them to this address here, this is my university email. So, Claudia, the floor is yours. Take these structures and these puzzles, and you may proceed with your own puzzles.
Yes.
Before, if you have any questions or any comments, there is a question, survive in all of them simultaneously. You're free to choose. I got inspired because we have the climate change and the rise of temperature. So what I put there are conditions that we are going to face. If not us, our close ancestors, not ancestors, kids or Egonia? Grandchildren will face for sure. So it is very close to us, the situation. Yes, Elena said, but it's in Greek, that the most poisonous plant that I showed you is the plant that we take the castor oil from it. Rikinos. Okay. There is a chat, the name and the... Good. So, Elena, you may share the information to other people as well. Thank you. So, Claudia.
Yes,
please.
I would like to add something about the pictures you show about my work. There's watercolors. They've been inspired by an experience that I had years ago with a group of young people in a special space that is a dynamo camp, is a strange camp in Tuscany too, where they host young boys and girls that have health problems, quite heavy. And during a week, they are completely covered by medical support and so on. But in the meantime, they try to offer them a special experience of life in this incredible place where they stay for a week. And one of the things they can do is on a sort of a workshop with artists. And I work with them, and I try to work on animals. And I want to explain because it can be inspiring for works for teachers, so that if it's useful. I just took many photocopies of all books, scientific books about animals. And I give them all those photocopies, and I told them to create their own animal, combining the pieces from the different pictures. And we did it many times from the same, I divided by group people, the 5 people. I did, everyone did the own collage. But then I asked them to combine just one collage, all the collage they did. So they took the parts from every collage and they created one picture. And the result are the pictures that you saw that I transformed by watercolors, of course, with different changes, but they come from this experience. So this strange combination, totally incredible, because they did incredible, beautiful collages, and can be very inspiring. That would be useful for me, what you told and you asked for, thinking which kind of relation they could have with the specific environment, those strange creatures. The last work I would like to talk about is an imule. And it has been I started in 2002 because I've been asked by an editor quite known in Italy for books, children books in particular, Corraini, to think about a project that could and can talk to children, but not directly thought for children. I mean that I had to invent something that can talk to children, but that should have an appealing for adults too. And I spent years to understand what to propose, because it's not so easy to do something intelligent with such a proposal. They told me that the very same question has been asked to Andy Warhol during the 60s for an exhibition he did in New York. And it just hung the paintings and lithography that he did at the very same level of the sight of children. So just put them at 30 centimeters from the floor. So a very simple idea, but quite tricky. But obviously I couldn't do the same. And so after a while, I decided to do the most simple thing, the simplest thing that can I do, that can imagine. And so I just probably you see me on the right, no? Okay. I just did it. And I started doing things with paper. Normally it's paper. I use paper from the restaurant, when you go to have a beer or something. So my husband wasn't so happy because I always, when I start talking, I just using my hands and making things. But probably is a sort of survival things for me to think and doing things in the same times, because as I told at the beginning, our hands can help our brain to keep strong memories of what he's listening. So I decided to improve this attitude that I have very, I don't know why I can do it very quickly. But for example, of course, it's not that, I mean, it's the first things that I have in mind. I started to do animals and every kind of shapes with this paper. And there are very few rules for this that I give during the many workshops I did. And it's to imagine a bidimensional shape. So you can have just a bidimensional stuff. And not using scissors, because if you use scissors, you can direct your cut. When you use your hands and you have to do this movement, you have to be very attentive to the paper and how the paper responds to your hands. And it's quite interesting to see how people react to this. I avoided did it with many kind of public, very young children, 5 years, 6 years old, to elder people, artists, or I did it in a studio of lawyers in Milan, or with I mean, very different people that have no absolutely any attitude to use their hands. Of course, there are people that are completely unable to do anything, but others are incredibly
skillful.
Yes, skillful. And because of the other rule, sorry, I forget the very important rule, is that you don't have to draw anything. I mean, it's something that you can do, just imagine the drawing on the paper and follow it with your hand. The thing is that the paper obliged you to change movement. So it's a very plastic attitude, is a sort of sculpture more than a drawing with your hand. Why I suggest not to draw is because I remember this attitude of human beings, or probably of every human, but for Homo sapiens in particularly, is about apophenia. It means that we as humans, we see patterns, understandable patterns in nature when they are not. I mean, that you can see a shape that you can recognize in the clouds, or in the mosses on a wall, you can see a face, for example, with a specific is a perodolia. I don't know in Italian, but probably there is Greek inside. So so this idea that we developed this attitude to, how to say, to understand the world around us. So it was better for many humans, for our ancestors, to be scared of a shape between the leaves of a tree, because we think that there is an animal ready to attack us, and so not to go there, than to go there and to be attacked. So this idea that we had to be a little bit always in a little state of fear, or with our sense open to be able to understand what was going on around us. And sometimes this attitude was so big, so strong, that we see things that are not there, because it was important to be ready to react. So it's a sort of adaptation too, because we have to be ready to adapt, to react quickly, because if not, our life is in danger. And I mean, it's a big subject, but I really like this idea. And so when you start to do this, and perhaps this shape can remind you something, I don't know, for me it would be a sort of an animal that can be the head of a bird. And then I can add, sorry, I do this, but I don't know if it's useful, but I do this and I can use glue and quickly have a bird. So the project started with this, and after years, I did this exhibition where I covered the floor of this specific place where I had to work. That was a very interesting building, ancient building in Mantua, with those frescoes of landscapes of Mantua from the 18th century. And so I cover all of the floor with my little figurines, shapes, but with the people who decided to give them to me, because it's a sort of a collective work. And I'm introducing this exhibition a very simple, the simplest thing I had in mind, a lamp that project light on the frescoes, some of the frescoes. And you see the different shapes. Some of them are very beautiful, some are very simple, very easy. Others are so complicated and so interesting for me too. And so I ask children, for example, you could take the shapes and project them. The subjects of those works are different. Normally, I ask children or adults, it depends on the public, reading books, some pages of different kind of books, of science, of poetry, of literature, or philosophy, that had a connection to light, to shapes, to animals, to metamorphosis, that is absolutely connected to the main topic of today. And sometimes children and the general public react differently. Some are perfectly understood my suggestion. Others completely did what they want. So there is no a specific story. What I try to do after this is to give myself story, because as you probably understood by this presentation that I did, I am obsessed by stories and narratives. And so I create a audio track of that change the time. Each time I present this project, the tracks changed. Some parts are the same, other are different in relation to the situation I lived and experienced through this project. So the very first experience I did had just some texts I read directly, the voice of my little niece that she started reading for the first time, and I gave her texts and she read them for the first time with these difficulties talking and, to read and to give sense to the words. It's a very tricky moment for children when they start reading and giving sense to the words they are saying. And adding in the time different kind of languages. I did it in Mexico City, I did it in Albania, recently, and add different layers of languages, sentences that it's not important to understand, but they are very interesting for their sounds, because you have the story that is going on with the shadows. So they added the selection of those figurines that I put in a book, and I open this book, I put the light on my body, and of course, is a sort of shadow theater, but this is, I think, is the most ancient and simplest thing that we can imagine as a cinema, as cinema. And it's very interesting, the reaction of people, because it's very simple, but it's very strong. And more and more I'm interested in this idea that sometimes we, yes, of course, we can do very complicated and very project with different kind of techniques, but sometimes when you use very simple things and very direct things, you can touch very old and magmatic point in our brain as human, I mean. And so that's the explanation of this animule that is going on. And I don't know, could be interesting to see if you want to do something like this and to connect with me and to send me the little shapes, and we can enrich the project. And because each time I tell all the people, all the schools normal, or the situation where the shapes have been done, and now the list is very long, but I would like to improve it. I like this idea that you can create a sort of a forest of shapes. It's a very mythical idea, and see what happens on me. So if you want to help me in the future, I I will be pleased and glad. Okay, I think it's enough.
Claudia, would you like to show us live here, to put you in a big screen and create something so that other people can see it more live? For example,
to see. Okay.
Yes,
because you see me. You can see me more.
it was very small icon.
So sorry. Okay.
So, thank you. And of course, at the same time, you could experiment your own if you want. You have your paper and glue and try to make something if you were inspired from today's talkings.
So, for example, I did this one. It's a cat. I really like it because it's completely, it's understandable as a cat, but it's not obviously a cat. I use different kind of paper then, but using different kind of paper is tricky because when you are doing this, you are influenced by the pictures on it. So it change your attitude of seeing the paper. So I strongly suggest to use very poor and very monocolor paper. And so the idea is that it's just strappare. How to say this? I don't remember. To
strip, tear. Σκίζω in Greek. Σκίζω. Θα σκίζω. Σκίζουμε το χαρτί.
Schizo this. I like. I'm obsessed with animals, but you can do this. Obviously, you can do. You have the glue, so somehow it's easiest to do this in a unique piece. For example, and then you can add different part of the body. So you can see stack. I have not the glue, obviously, because I wasn't prepared for this, but tac, tac. Vabbè, è difficile. Okay, that could be something. So I don't know if, of course, if you have the glue is enough. I mean, it's not important that is, I mean, perfect. It's not a perfection we are talking about, but is suggestions. Can you wait a sec? I show you, Soraya.
I think it's a very great idea for everybody. If you have a student that is a little bit anxious or overheated, somehow overwhelmed, it's a good idea to keep him or her occupied with that.
For example, it has been made by a children of 5 years old. That is amazing. And because I did it like this, or this.
It could be a mythology, story or this.
I don't know the word. Is nutria as the animals that they keep as
the rivers.
That, American
capybara.
Sort of capybara. They live near the rivers, and they just they're very dangerous in the sense that they reproduce themselves incredibly, and they use normally at the beginning of the 20th centuries the skin, the fur,
the fur
were
used the beaver.
Exactly. And so they reproduce incredibly, and they're very dangerous. So in the story, I'm doing this. I'm talking about those animals that are they must be killed because they're too much, but it's not our fault. By human is a fault of humans because they've been introduced in a system that was different, so they have no natural enemies.
May I interrupt you here in Greek for a moment? In Greece, we have introduced this in North Greece, myocastor, which is the American beaver that we brought it here in Greece for the fair. Οι γουναράδες το φέραν εδώ για τη γούνα τους, ο μυοκάστορας. And it has pushed away the natural population of the beavers, of the European beavers that you had. And yes, it is an invasive species and we don't want it here. It's wanted. Καταζητούμενο.
No, it's a different, it's a big subject, this one, that what we human did with no thinking about it, and now we have obliged to kill them, and it's terrible.
There is a question in the chat. Those are made by 5-year-olds. Well,
no,
some
not
of them,
all, but some of them, yes. There are children that react. I was amazed. Other, of course, not. But if they have this attitude, they are incredibly good. And I've been really impressed myself. I've been impressed by the opposite. Adults that I asked this girl that is, she was a lawyer. I don't know. she stayed 40 minutes for the workshop, and the most interesting thing she did is the shape of an island, Italian island, Sicily, and this is a triangle. So she did a triangle of paper, saying that is Sicily. Okay, that was not so.
This is abstract thinking. Come on.
Too much, but I understand it is not for everybody. But the most part of the people react interestingly to this very simple approach. It depends how you introduce it and how you can move them to you. That depends on the chemical approach.
There is another question. The paper is straw paper.
Yes, very simple paper. It's not too thick and neither too thin. So you can, because if it's too thin, it can move and you can't really adapt it. But use different kind of paper like this. And you can imagine them with their shadow. So it's a point. I started with this kind of images. Double images.
Guys, I'm trying, yeah? I will come back with my homework.
Show us what you're doing.
I'm working on
it. Okay, we are heading to the end, so just a minute to show you. Here I have put the links about what Claudia has showed us in her PDF, so you could explore yourself. And we will put in the chat in the next minutes the Google form about this webinar that you have to fill in order to get your certificate in the end. You will see again, as in the previous one, that for Greek people, we need both Greek and Latin letters in their names and their father name. The Greek fields are not obligatory in the form, so that the foreign participants may also proceed in the filling of the form. But please, because we need to have both names, Greek and Latin, for Greek people, for the certificates, the Greek people should fill in the Greek fields as well. Also, there are 3-4 questions of somehow a feedback or an evaluation of this webinar. And before we finish, I would like to remind you that on next Monday, 22nd of April, we will have an astronomy subject from Museo Galileo from Florence, Ilaria Margutti, who is doing a perfect exhibition with embroidery of stars, and from London, Margie McKinnon. So, Laura, if you want to say some words about the next presentation before we have 5 more minutes. You are...
Yes, thank you, Yasmi. Next Monday, we will talk about the exhibition that is working right now in National Library in Florence. is one of the most important cultural institutes in Italy, with Galileo Galilei's museum, and is an important exhibition with books from Galileo and from women who studied science in the past. And in the exhibition, there is also works from Ilaria Margutti. She's an embroidery artist. She did 7 big canvas inspired to a science. She's Henrietta Leavitt, who studied astronomy, and as a lot of women in science had not so many space in the history of science. So it's a way to understand has changed the role of women in science from muse as to active active researcher, and so it's also telling about science and also the role of women in this field. So we hope can be interest for you. Yeah, and there are a lot of workshop connected to some workshop connected to the exhibition. So we will talk about the research, the artistic work, and also some ideas to bring this approach to young people at school. Are you
Thank you.
all
Thank
and
you.
now
Yes, I
I
will.
show you my animule. Sa?
Zach.
Okay, I don't know very well from where, but okay. Okay, it's a beginning. Bella. Thank you very much, Claudia.
Caterina, speak so that you appear in the big screen. Caterina Papadaki, you showed us something.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you, first of all. It was a great masterclass. Thank you very much. And secondly, I have a question. Will you send us the what we have to do? Because I didn't write it down. I thought I would remember, and now I realize I remember nothing.
As soon.
We will send you an email, so yes, you will
Okay.
get the whole recording and the PDFs and everything written down for you.
Thank you, thank you. Okay.
But
See you
first,
on Monday.
but
Bye-bye.
first you fill in the link for the form so that we get your email. Otherwise, we don't have your email.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, and see you on Monday.
Thank you.
Laura, your paper craft looks like Sid from Ice Age. I found a resemblance.
Yes.
He's Sid from Ice Age. Do you remember the character?
You think? Okay.
It's real.
It's my first experiment. Now I have I think I have a good paper, not so light. Anyway, girls, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. And
Thank you.
when you fill in the form, we will get your email tomorrow, and I will send back to you the webinar online so that you can see it again if you want, and the PowerPoint presentation with the links. But first, fill in the form. We have uploaded the link to the chat. Okay. Thank you all. See you on Monday. Bye bye.
Ciao, grazie.
Ciao. Bye.
Ευχαριστούμε. Γεια σας.
Γεια σας.
Yasmi, maybe you can stop recording.
Yes, correct.